Welcome students. In this lecture we are going to discuss the second different type of the group data, its summarization and the analysis. And then later on we look into some more examples of it. We must understand the difference between the two different types of group data. The first one we did was the class interval data type of group data that we have, and the second one is this one which we are going to start now. In the class interval type of group data, as I told in that lecture as well, the data that we have got is not grouped itself. It does not carry any classes, any groups, anything which can differentiate between different values that we have in the data set. Rather, we create classes in that data, and in this way we create groups. But the type of the data that we will be discussing now, we will see that it carries the groups within itself. It has the categories, it has the classes, and we don't need to create the classes ourselves in this type of data. So let's start with it with a simple example. Example number one. A basket contains 3 red and 4 green balls. A random experiment is performed such that a ball is randomly drawn from the basket, not replaced, and then again a ball is randomly drawn from the basket. If x is a random variable containing the count of the red colored balls which are drawn definitely, determine the following statistical parameters. The statistical parameters that we need to work upon, which will be part of the analysis, include range, all quartiles, percentiles, for example 15th percentile, deciles, for example 8th decile, frequency distribution of x, and mean value of x, error of the mean, and predicted outcome. In order to understand this data, we make a probability tree diagram, and in this tree diagram, capital R is for the red, capital G is for the green. So we can see that it is a sequential experiment, as it was mentioned in the question that first a ball is drawn, and then without replacing a second ball is drawn. So we also know that sequential random experiments rather, are of two types. Either they can be dependent type or independent type. If in the sequence the second trial has the probabilities which can be changed or which are changing because of the first trial, then we say that the sequential experiments are dependent or conditional, as it is the case over here. But if the probabilities are not changing in the second trial because of the first trial, then we say that the sequential experiment is independent type, as it is not the case over here. So there are some keywords in the question which we should always remember. One of the keywords is without replacement. When we have the case without replacement in sequential experiments, then this shows that it is of dependent type, or conditional probabilities would be needed over there, right? So the summary of this experiment is very well illustrated in this probability tree diagram. We have, at the start of the experiment, we have 3 red and 4 green balls, and when a ball is singly drawn, or when a single ball is drawn from this collection of 3 red and 4 green balls, then either we can have a red ball or a green ball. The probability of getting a red ball is 3 by 7, as it is obvious from the sample space, and the probability for getting green ball is 4 by 7, that is, as it is again obvious from the sample space, because there are 4 greens out of 7 balls. But we must know that they both are mutually exclusive. That is, either of them would be occurring, either a red or a green. Okay, so they are shown by the parallel branches of the probability tree diagram. This completes our trial 1. Now, at the start of the trial 2, we are now remaining with 6 balls. Okay, initially we had 7 balls, which was the count at the start of the trial 1, but now we are remaining with 6 balls. If earlier a red ball was drawn, then we are remaining with 2 red and 4 green. However, if earlier a green ball was drawn, then we would be remaining with 3 red and 3 green. If, if in the first case, that is, we are on this branch that earlier a red ball was drawn, Then in the second trial, again, we can get a red ball, given the red was drawn first in the previous stage, or we can have this situation that a green ball would be drawn in the second trial, given a red was drawn in the first trial. Their individual probabilities are 2 by 6 and 4 by 6, as it is obvious again from the sample space, because we had 2 red out of 6 balls. So the probability of red given red would be 2 by 6. And since we had 4 greens out of 6 balls, so probability of green given red would be 4 by 6. Similarly, if earlier was a green was drawn, then in the second trial we can either have a red or a green given the green was drawn. Probability of red giving green is 3 by 6, and probability of green giving green is also 3 by 6, as it is obvious from the sample space. So after the end of the trial 2, the experiment is completed, and we could be ending up in any of these 4 situations. That is, the first situation is probability of red and red, which means that in both the trials, a red ball was drawn, and the probability of it would be 6 by 42, which is the product of the probability of red and probability of red given red. This probability of red is the probability in the first trial, and the probability of red given red is the probability of red in the second trial, if a red was drawn in the first trial. Or we can end up in the situation that we have that we have red and green. That is, red ball was drawn in the first trial and the green in the second, and the total probability is the product of probability of red multiplied by probability of green given red, which would be 12 by 42. As again, it is obvious from the branches in the tree diagram. That is 3 upon 7 multiplied by 4 by 6. It is 12 by 42. As it was in the previous case, when we had both the red balls in the first and second trial, the total probability was there as well. The product of 3 by 7 and 2 by 6, which made it equals to 6 by 42. Or we could end up in this situation that we had green in the first trial and a red in the second trial, given a green was drawn in the first trial. So probability of green and red would be equals to probability of green multiplied by probability of red given green. And the total probability would be the product of the two, which is 4 upon 7 multiplied by 3 by 6, that is 12 by 42. Or we could also end up in this situation that we had the green in the first trial and again a green in the second trial, given the green was in the first trial. So this would be the green and green situation, and the probability of green and green, or probability of green intersection green, is probability of green multiplied by green given red, and definitely its probability. And the total probability would be the product, that is 4 upon 7 into 3 upon 6, that is 12 by 42. Right? So we have these situations. Now we can see at the end of the 2 trials, the probabilities are not same, they are not equal, and the frequencies definitely are also not same. So this means that we do not have any ungrouped data statistics over here. How the frequencies are not changed, let's talk about this first. Let's see what is the total frequency that we can have of X in this data set, or what is the total data set size. At the start, we have 7 balls, and at the start of the second trial, we have 6 balls. That means the total number of frequency, or the total number of actions that we can have, is basically 7 multiplied by 6 by the rule of products. So that means in all we have total 42 values in our data set. Okay, first thing. Now what are the individual frequencies of these events which are shown? For the case of red and red, it would be 3 into 3 into 2, that is 6. For the case of red and green, it would be 3 multiplied by 4, because 3 red and 4 greens, it would be 12. For the case of green and red, it would be 4 multiplied by 3, that is 12, because there are 4 greens and 3 reds. And for the case of green and green, it will be 4 multiplied by 3, again, that is 12, because there were 4 greens and 3 greens as well. So these are the individual frequencies, and the probabilities we have already determined. So all this shows that the frequencies are not same, they are not equal to 1, probabilities are not same. So it is definitely a group data statistics we are going through in this example. So if the random variable shows the count of the red balls at the end of the 2 trials, and we indicated with X, we have seen that the total values in the X are 42, right? And it can have the value 0, 1, and 2. 0 means no red ball in the two trials. 1 means one red ball in two trials, and 2 means two red balls in the two trials. Okay, but how many such zeros could we have? In how many ways we can have x having zero value? As we just saw this thing that the frequency of x having zero value can be seen in these two end branches, right? So the frequency of it will be 12. So this means there would be 12 zeros present in our data set, right? And this is shown by 12 zeros over here. 0, 1, 1 subscript indicating the first value or the first location value in the data set, reaching to 12th location value of the data set. So in the first 12 locations we have zeros in our data set. Then in the next locations we have one. But how many such ones can we have? We have ones in this branch combination, that is uh, red and green, and we also have one red in this branch combination giving arising from green and red. In both the cases the frequency was 12, but since they both were mutually exclusive cases, so the rule of product says that 3 into 4 12 for the first one, and the rule of product says 4 into 3 into 12 again for the second one. But the rule of sum says it will be 12 plus 12, that is 42, because rule of sum says it rule of sum applies to any situation where we have any one of them occurring. So the parallel branches shows that any one of them would be occurring. Either the first would be the red and then the green, or the first would be the green and then the red, right? So there would be 24 ones. So after the zero, after the 12th location zero, we would have 24 ones. So this means from 13th location in the data set till 36th location, right? Because 12 plus 24 is 36. We will all have ones, and this is shown over here in this way with subscript of 13 and subscript of 36. Now the last value that we can have, or the highest value that we can have of x is 2. That is indicating that in both the trials the red ball was drawn. Okay, and so the frequency that we can have of it is 3 into 2, that is 6, which basically means that there would be 6 twos present after the ones have been completed. So from 27th location till 42nd location we will have the 6 twos, and this completes our data set x, as can be seen over here. A much better way to represent this data set is by the help of the frequency distribution table, and this is shown over here. We can have three group values, 0, 1, and 2. The frequency of 0 would be 4 into 3, that is 12. The frequency of 1 would be 3 into 4, 12, plus 4 into 3, 12, that is 24. The reason we have just discussed from the probability tree diagram. And the frequency of 2 would be 6 from 3 into 2, right? So these are the frequencies that we just discussed, right? The product of the red and red, red and green, green and red, and green balls. Okay. The total frequency is 12 plus 24 plus 6 is 42, which is again the same as 7 into 6, which is the capital N, as well as the data set size. We just discussed this thing, that how we reach to this 42 value by again using the rule of products. That at the start we had 7 balls, and at the start of the second trial we had 6 balls. So 7 into 6 makes it equals to 42. Next comes the column of relative frequency or the probability. And as we know this thing, that this relative frequency or probability is just the ratio of the frequency of the group divided by total frequency. So for the first group having the value 0, the relative frequency would be 12 by 42. For the second group having value of 1, the relative frequency would be 24 by 42. And for the third group having value 2, the relative frequency would be 6 by 42. And since they are all mutually exclusive cases, that is, any one of them would be occurring, either we would have no red ball, one red ball, or two red balls. So the sum of their probability should also be equal to 1, as it is the case over here. Next comes the very important column of cumulative frequency. For 0 we had the frequency of 12, and the cumulative of it would be 12 because there's no other frequency previously to it. Then we had the value of 1, and the cumulative frequency is 36. 24 plus 12 is 36. And this is also seen over here, that till the 36th value of the data set we have ones, right? Till the 12th value of the data set we had 0. So you can see the relationship between the two. This, the way we have written this data set x, and the way the cumulative frequencies are working. And then in the last group 2 we had the total frequency 6, and 6 when added to previous two frequencies gives the result, that is 6 plus 36 is 42, which means that till 42nd value in the data set we have twos. The last column is group boundary. Group boundary, as we saw in the class interval data summarization, is found exactly in the same way. Just the method is the same, but the way it is appearing might be different to you. Like for example, there we used to subtract the lower limit of class 2 with the upper limit of class 1 and divided by 2. Here we don't have the limits. Rather, we just subtract the two group values corresponding, which is 1 and 0, or 2 and 1. And 1 minus 0 is 1. And then divided by 2, we get 0.5. This 0.5 is a jamming factor which we will be using. And this 0.5 is subtracted and added to the group values. So to give the group boundaries, like 0 minus 0.5 is minus 0.5, and 0 plus 0.5 is plus 0.5. 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5, and 1 plus 0.5 is 1.5. 2 minus 0.5 is 1.5, and 2 plus 2 plus 0.5 is 2.5. So again, we can see that the data has been made continuous with the help of the group boundaries, because the boundary value at which one group is ending is the same as the boundary value from which the other group is beginning. We don't need a class mark column over here because we already have single values of our groups. So this is all about the summarization of the group data that we have. And again, see this thing that we have groups in this data. We don't need to make the class intervals. Like we have three groups in this data. One is 0, second is 1, and the third is 2. So there are groups present. Please note this difference, that there are groups present. We don't need to make the groups classes as we used to have in the class interval data set type. Now let's move on to the analysis. In the analysis, the set of formulae that we will be using, I have summarized over here. They are all the same as for the class intervals. We will just see that how to use them, right? So let's start with the range. As we know, the range is the difference between the maximum and the minimum value in the data set, and the max value is 2 and the min value is 0. So 2 minus 0 equals to 2 makes the range of our data set. Quartiles. We don't need to arrange the data in the order because we have already done it in the form of the group table. And now we will move on to the quartiles values. So first, the location of the quartile. Let's start with the Q1. We have seen in this formula that the location is given by I upon 4 into capital N, where I would be 1 for quartile 1 and N would be the total data set size or total frequencies. So the location of Q1 comes out to be 42 by 4, which is 10.5th location. 10.5th location is where? In the data set. So we can see that till the 12th value, using the cumulative frequency column, we can see that till the 12th value we had 0, and 10.5 is the location definitely which is less than 12. Therefore this means that at 10.5th location we have the 0 value. Okay, so this is the quartile group. The frequency of it is 12. The lower value of the class boundary is minus 0.5, and there's no frequency preceding it, so that cumulative frequency preceding this group would be 0. So we just plug in these values in the Q1 equation, and we get minus 0.5 plus 1 upon 12. Remember, the height is 1. It's the difference between the corresponding group values, which is 1 minus 0 is 1, as well as 2 minus 1 is also 1. So 1 upon 12 into 10.5 minus 0, and the answer comes out to be 0.375, which can also be truncated to 0 value because we know the value of the group is 0. So we can keep 0.375 as the Q1 value, or we can also truncate it to 0. Both are correct. In a very similar way, we can find Q2 as well as Q3 value, or we will find Q2 as well as Q3 value. The location of Q2 is 2 by 4 into 42, that is 21st, and the location of Q3 is 3 by 4 into 42, that is 31.5. In both the cases, we can see from the table that till 36th value in the data set, we are in the second group. So this is the quartile group, both for Q2 and Q3. The frequency of this group is 24. The cumulative frequency preceding this group is 12, and the lower value of the class boundary is 0.5. Putting this value in this Q1 equation, this QI value equation, as we did for the Q1 as well, we can find the Q2 and Q3 values. So which are, for the Q2 case, it is 0.5 plus 1 by 24 into 21 minus 12. 21 is the factor that we obtained over here by 2 upon 4 into 42, and the answer we get is 0.875. Again, this can be rounded up to 1 because we know that the group value is 1 over there. And for the Q3 value, it would be 0.5 plus 1 upon 24 into 31.5 minus 12. Please note this thing that again this 31.5 is the factor from 3 upon 4 into 42, which is I upon 4 into capital N in the formula equation. And the answer comes out to be 1.3125, which by the rules of the rounding up can be truncated to 1. In a very similar way, we can find the percentiles as well as deciles. The location of percentile is 15 upon 100 into 42, which is 6.3. That is 6.3rd location in the data set is the 15th percentile, for example. And 6.3rd location in the first group. So we just plug in the required and values of the first group. There is a lower value of the class boundary plus height of the class, which is 1, and then divided by 12, which is the frequency of the group, and 6.3, which is the factor that we obtained from 15 upon 100 into 42, and minus 0 because there is no cumulative frequency preceding the first group, and the answer comes out to be 0.025, which can be truncated to 0 value because this is the group value. Likewise, the eighth decile location is 8 upon 10 into 42, which is 33.6. And we can see from the group table again that this 33.6 location is also in the second group. So this value should also be coming towards 1 value. So we just plug in the values in the equation, like the lower value of the class boundary is 0.5 plus height of the class, which is 1 upon 24, which is the frequency of the group, multiplied by 33.6, which was the factor obtained from 8 upon 10 into 42, minus cumulative frequency preceding this group, which is 12. And the answer comes out to be 1.4, which can be truncated to 1. Very close to 2, but it can be truncated to 1 because we know that it is in the second group. So D8 value is 1.4, or you can also take the value 1. Next, the frequency distribution table and the frequency distribution. Now we should note this thing that the frequency distributions can be represented by table as well as by graph. We have just seen the tabular method. Later on, we will see that how we do the graphical approach. So till now, the table which is required we have already made. Then the mean value. We know the mean value is the expected value of x, which is indicated by the popular Greek symbol mu, and the formula for finding the mean value is mentioned over here, that e of x, or the expected value of x, which is equals to mu, or the mean, is basically the summation of the product of the probability of each data set value multiplied by the probability multiplied by the value itself, and this would be summed from 1 to small n. That is a one that is this would be summed to total number of groups, and the same equation can be written in terms of the frequency. Now, please note this thing that if you are summing it to capital N, then it means that you are taking the frequency 1 for every value. And if it is summed to small n, then it means we are considering the groups in the data set. Both are okay. Both are okay. Right? Both will give this the value of the mean or the mu result. Okay. Because I remember that in the class interval table we put capital N over here in this equation, then that meant that we are assuming that the frequency is 1, but over here I have written small n, so this means that I'm considering the frequencies that are different from 1, but both will give the same result. So I said I thought that I use both the versions so that both the equations would be understandable. So 12 over 42 is the probability or relative frequency for the first group value, which is 0. The product of it is shown over here. Then 24 upon 42 is the relative frequency or the probability for the second group, which has value 1, and the product of them is shown over here. 6 upon 42 is the relative frequency or probability for the third group, and its value is 2, which is shown over here. The products, and then summing up gives the result, which is 0.8571, which can be approximated to 1. But we will keep 0.8571 as our resultant value for calculating the variances and standard deviation. So this is the mean, which is 0.8571. Next comes the error in the mean. Remember this thing that in order to calculate the error of the mean, we first need to find the error square of the mean. Error square is variance and error is the standard deviation. After finding the error square or after finding the variance, we take the square root of it and we get the error or the standard deviation of the mean. So the variance and standard deviations, right? So variance is determined by using this formula, which is again the similar one as we use in the class interval data set analysis. So this is the product of the probability of each value and the value minus the mean square of it, and then summing them to the total number of groups that we have. And this can be written in terms of the frequencies as well. Again, note this thing that this can be summed to capital N as well as small n. If you are summing it to capital N, then this would mean that we are considering the same frequency for every data set value. That would be 1. And if you are summing it to small n, then this means that we are considering the different frequencies in the data set value. So I'm using the formulation that is sum to small n. Okay, but I remember that in the class interval data set type, we use the formula in which we sum it to capital N when we're using the frequency. Both will give you the correct answer, the same answer. And after finding the variance, we take the square root of it and we get the standard deviation. So let's see how these calculations are performed. 12 upon 42 is the relative frequency or probability for the first group, which has a value of 0. And then 0 minus 0.8571 square is then multiplied with it. Likewise, it goes for the other probabilities of the other group, as can be seen in this equation, like 24 upon 42 into 1 minus 0.8571 square, then plus 6 upon 42 into 2 minus 0.8571 square. When we find the differences, square them and multiply them with the probabilities, we get 0.2098 plus 0.0116 plus 0.1866. Because we had 3 groups, so therefore the summations are performed for 3 factors or till 3 factors over here in the variance as well as in the mean equations. And the resultant answer is 0.408. Taking square root of it, that is the taking square root of the variance, we get 0.638. Sigma square was the symbol that is used for variance, and sigma is the symbol that is used for the standard deviation. And this 0.638 is the error of the mean value. The last thing that we had to find in the analysis was the predicted outcome. Now we know this thing that the predicted outcome is basically equals to the statistical model plus minus error of the model. Now the statistical model that we have used for finding the expectations or the predictions is the mean value, which is mu, and the error of the mean is the standard deviation, that is sigma. So mean we came out to be 0.8571 and the standard deviation was 0.638. So 0.8571 plus minus 0.6387 will give us the predicted outcome. So 0.8571 minus 0.6387 gives the answer, which is 0.2184, and 0.8571 plus 0.6387 gives the answer, which is 1.4958. We can keep the answer till here as well, but if you want to be more precise, so we can see that 0.2 can be approximated to 0 and 1.4958 can be approximated to 1. So this means that our prediction is from 0 to 1, and this is important to note because the group values or the x values that we had was 0, 1 and 2. So it's better that we give the prediction in terms of 0, 1 or 2. That is the actual data set values that we have. Another important thing to note is the approximation of 1.49, right? 1.49 is approximated to 1. I haven't approximated to 2. Why? It is the way we have analyzed the data, so we should be intelligent enough to give the answer. Because one can argue on this thing that 1.49 can be related or can be approximated to 1.5 and 1.5 can be approximated to 2. But then what is the purpose of prediction? The answer would have ended to 0 to 2. That means we haven't done anything useful in the prediction. Why I have done it in this way? Please look again into the data set. The frequencies and the probabilities. The frequencies of 0 and 1 were quite bigger as compared to the frequency of 2, right? 12 was for 0, 24 was for 1, and 6 was for 2. So it means that there is more chance of getting 0 and 1 as compared to 2, as we can see from the probabilities value. Like 12 upon 42 and 24 upon 42 are much higher probabilities as compared to 6 upon 42. So that is why I have basically truncated 1.49 to a value which is 1 rather than rounding it up to 2, so that we could show something useful done on the analysis. Otherwise, we would have ended up in the answer that the predicted outcome is from 0 to 2. Then what is intelligent in this thing? Because the actual data set values were also from 0 to 2. Nothing useful would have been done. Okay, so I think you have got this thing. And this is how we do the analysis of the data set. Let's move on to some more examples. In these examples, we will not be doing the analysis, just summarization, because the analysis portion is the same. The second example is find the frequency distribution table for the number of boys in the committee of 3 people selected at random from 4 boys and 3 girls. So in this case, we have to basically make a committee of 3 people from 4 boys and 3 girls, and let's see how this could be done. We have the following possible samples or groups. Let capital B indicate for boys and capital G is indicating the girls. So the possible samples that we can have are definitely we can have 0 boy and 3 girls, or we can have 1 boy and 2 girls, or we can have 2 boys and 1 girl, or we can have 3 boys and 0 girls. This is the way we can write it statistically. Sorry, in English language. But if you translate it statistically, what do we get? If you translate it into a statistical language sentence, this would be 0 boys can be taken from 4 boys in 4C 0 ways. C is for combination. Since the order does not matter over here and repetition will also be not allowed, therefore we have used the combination method. And the and would be translated into multiplication by the rule of products, and 3 girls can be taken from 3 girls in 3C 3 ways. So this 0 boy and 3 girls, or 0b and 3g, would be written as 4C 0 multiplied by 3C 3. Then the or would be translated to plus by the rule of sums, and 1 boy can be selected from 4 boys from in 4C 1 ways. Then again and would be translated into multiply, and 2 girls from 3 girls can be selected from 3C in 3C 2 ways. So 1b and 2g would be translated to 4c1 multiplied by 3c2. And again the or would be translated to plus. Then 2b and 1g in a similar way would be translated as 4c2 multiplied by 3c1. And again or would be translated to plus, and 3b and 0g would be translated to 4c3 multiplied by 3c0. Okay. Now what is a random variable? The formulation of the random variable. 4C, I mean, we can see this thing that since the random variable was the count of boys, okay, and the count of boys over here is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So in how many ways can we have samples comprising 0 boys? Is actually the product of this 4C0 and 3C3, which is equals to 1. So it means the count of zeros in the data set X, if you indicate it with the data set with X, which is the count of boys, would be 1. So there would be 1 0. Then after this 1 0, we would have basically this 4C1 into 3C2. That is X containing value 1. And the product of 4C1 and 3C2 is basically equals to 12. So this means after 1 0, we would have 12 ones. That is till the 13th value of the data set, we would have ones. Then the value of X would be 2. Okay. And how many 2's can we have is equals to the product of 4C2 and 3C1. Okay, and this product of 4C2 and 3C1 is actually equals to 18. So 3C1 is 3 and 4C2 is 6, and 6 into 3 is 18. So that means after the 13th location we had 1, we would have basically 18 twos. So there are 18 twos starting from 14th location in the data set and ending to 31st location in the data set. Then the value of X is 3, and how many 3's have we got? We have got basically 4 3's, right? So after the 31st location, we would have 4 3's, which is equals to from 32nd location till 35th location. So there would be 4 3's then. Okay. This is how we write the dataset X, and a much better way is shown in the frequency distribution table. Okay, so we have basically 4 values of X, which is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Their frequencies are 1, 12, 18, and 4, as with the same reasoning as shown above. And the very important thing now is this, that the total frequency is sum of these frequencies, as we know, which is 1 plus 12 plus 18 plus 4, which is 35. And a verification that whether this answer is correct or not can be seen from the result that this 35 should also be equal to 73, because in all we had 7 people, 4 boys and 3 girls, and from 7 we had to select 3 people. So this should be equal to 73, right? Which is also equal to 35. Next comes the column of probability or the relative frequency, which is the ratio of the frequency of the group divided by total frequencies. That is 1 by 35, 12 by 35, 18 by 35, 4 by 35. They are all mutually exclusive cases because any one of these sample or groups would be occurring. So the sum of their probabilities, by the rule that the sum of the probabilities of all the mutually exclusive events should always be equal to 1, is satisfying over here. Next comes the column of cumulative frequency, which is the accumulation of frequencies. It's a very important column because not only in the data set, not only in the quartile, percentile, decile calculations, but also the way the data set is formulated. Like for example, the cumulative frequency for 0 is 1, right? Cumulative frequency of for 1 is 12 plus 113, which shows that till 13th value in the data set we had 1, right? Then the cumulative frequency of 2 is 31, which was from 18 plus 31, sorry, 18 plus 13 is 31, which means that till 31st value in the data set we have 2, and as shown in the table in this formulation of x, this satisfies this thing. Then the cumulative frequency for x equals to 3 is 35, which was resultant from 4 plus 31, which is 35, and this means that till 35th value in the data set we have the value 3. That's how we complete the cumulative frequency, and that's how we understand it. Last is the group boundary, which is again 1 minus 0, which is again formulated by first finding the jamming factor, which is 1 minus 0 upon 2, which is 0.5. This 0.5 is subtracted and added to every group value to give this group boundary. And this is quite self-understandable that how we can have these values. Like 0.5 is subtracted and added to every group value will give us this column. So that's how we complete this summarization. Let's do another example to have more understanding of these things. Example 3. A shipment of 7 television sets contains 2 defective sets. A hotel makes a random purchase of 3 of the sets. So from 7 television sets, 2 are defective, but we don't know which 2, and randomly 3 are purchased. Find the frequency and the probability distribution for the random variable indicating defective sets in the purchase. So X is the defective sets in the purchase, and if let's say we indicate capital D for defectives and D bar or D complement for the non-defective, then in the purchase we can have the following samples or the following combinations. We can have 0D and 3D complement, that is we can have no defective and all, sorry, we can have yes, no defective and all 3 non-defectives, or we can have 1 defective and 2 non-defectives, or we can have 2 defectives and 1 non-defective. We cannot have any other group further because there are total 2 defectives present. Translated statistically, this would be 2C0 multiplied by 5C3 because 2 were the defectives and 5 were the non-defectives. So 0D means 2C0, getting 0 defectives out of 2 defectives is by 2C0. C is for combination. There would be no order present over here and there would be no repetition. So that's why combination is used. And translated to multiply, and this 3 non-defectives is translated to 5C3. Likewise, the second group is the plus, sorry, first thing comes first, the OR is translated to plus, and then the second group or the second sample is translated to 2C1 multiplied by 5C2. 1D means that 1 defective, right? So 1 defective from 2 defectives can be obtained in 2C1 ways and is translated to multiply, and 2 non-defectives means that 2 non-defectives from 5 non-defectives could be obtained in 5C2 ways. Or is again translated to plus, then 2 defectives and 1 non-defective means that 2 defectives from 2 defectives would be obtained in 2C2 ways, and 1 non-defective from 5 non-defectives would be obtained in 5C1 ways, right? So this means we can have, because x is the count of defectives, we can have the value of x as 0, 1 and 2, and how many zeros can we have is the product of this 2C0 and 5C3, which is 10. So we can have 10 zeros over here. How many ones can we have for x is equal to the product of 2C1 and 5C2, which is 20. So this means that after 10 zeros we would have 20 ones. That means from 11th value in the data set till 30th value we would have ones. And how many 2's we will have is equals to 2C2 multiplied by 5C1, okay, which is equals to 5. So this means after 30th value, the remaining 5 values would be all 2's. So this makes total 35 values in the data set. Again, this makes good sense because like previous example, from 7 values we are getting basically 3 drons, so 7C3 would be equals to 35. The same things can be shown in this frequency distribution table as well. We have 3 different values of x, or the group values of x are 0, 1 and 2. The frequencies are 10, 25. The same reasoning as we just discussed above. and the sum of these frequencies is 35, which is equivalent to 7C3, and the relative frequency or probability are the ratio of the frequency of the group to the total frequency, which is 10 by 35, 20 by 35, and 5 by 35, summing equal to 1. Cumulative frequency of each group is the accumulation of frequencies. Like for the first group, it is 10, for second is 20 plus 10, which is 30. And for the last group, it is 5 plus 30, which is 35. And the group boundary column is again obtained in a very similar way as we did for the previous examples. So the jamming factor is 1 minus 0 upon 2, which is 0.5, which is subtracted and added to each group value to give the required group boundary column. So that's how we complete this summarization for this third example. Let's move on to the fourth example. Find the probability distribution of the sum of the numbers when a pair of dice is rolled. So when we roll a pair of dice, we get two outcomes, and the sum of these outcomes is the random variable. Please note this thing, that the key idea in picking up the random variable is this, that it is only the random variable whose probability of frequency distribution is determined. It is only the random variable whose mean values are determined. So the key idea of picking which is the random variable is the way we are writing, is the way the question has been written, and only those variables would be the random variables whose probability distributions, frequency distributions, or mean values are determined, or the quartiles, percentiles, or deciles are being asked. Consider the case of where order matters and repetitions are allowed, or consider the case of order matters and repetitions are allowed. Show your answer in the frequency distribution table. So let's first understand this question. Here we have shown a simple table to give the idea, and the table shows this thing as it is quite self-understandable, that when the two dice are rolled, we can have these outcomes, and when we sum them, we get the results like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if we just sum these outcomes, we will get this resultant random variable. Okay, so how many? I mean, what is the minimum value of this data set is seen is 2, and the max value is 12. And how many 2s we have? We have 1, 2. How many 3s we have? We have basically 2 3s. Likewise, we have 3 4s. Likewise, we have basically 4 5s. We have 5 6s. We have 6 7s. We have 5 8s. We have 4 9s. We have 3 10s. We have 2 11s, and we have 1 12. And that is how this x is also formulated, because x is the sum of the numbers on the two dice. So I hope this is understandable, right? So we start from this table, go to this table, and then formulate our x. The same information can be shown in the form of the frequency distribution table as well, which is shown over here. So these are the x values, they are the sums, these are their frequencies, and their sum is equal to 36, as should be, because we can see the case where order matters and repetitions are allowed follows the n raised to power r permutation rule. Remember this thing. So 6 things taken 2 at a time makes it equals to 6 power 2, that is 36. So the frequency 36 is verified by this result. This third column is the relative frequency or probability, which is understandable, frequency of the group divided by total frequency. Then cumulative frequency, we are summing up the frequencies, like 1 for the first group, 2 plus 1, 3 for the second group, and going in the same way, we reach to the value 36, which is also the n, or the data set size. And then the group boundaries. So 3 minus 2 is 1, and 1 upon 2 is 0.5. So 0.5 factor is subtracted and added to each group value, and we end up with this column of the group boundary. So that's how the summarization or the frequency distribution table is made for this example 4. The last example, example number 5. 3 cards are drawn in randomly from a standard deck of 52 cards. So we are randomly drawing 3 cards from a well shuffled deck of cards actually. We are only interested in the occurrence of spades. In these 3 cards, we only want to find the occurrence of or count of spades. So we can have 0 spades, 1 spade, or 2 spades, or 3 spades, right? This is quite understandable. We have to find a frequency and probability distribution for the number of spades. So we can have 0 spades and 3 other cards. This other is indicated by red O. We can have 1 spade and 2 other cards, or we can have 2 spades and 1 other card, or we can have 3 spades and 0 other cards. This can be translated in this way. Now again, note this thing, that again the way this experiment is performed is following the rule of combinations, because the cards drawn does not have any repetitions, because this is taken from a standard deck of 52 cards. So every card is just occurring once, and the order does not matter over here. Quite understandable. So this 0s and 3o can be translated into 13c0 multiplied by 39c3, because 0 spades coming from 13 spades is 13c0, and ways it could be done, and three other cards from 39 other cards can be done in 39c3. This 39 is obtained because 52 minus 13 is 39. So if 13 are spades, 39 would be other cards in all. Likewise, 1s and 2o is translated into 13c1 into 39c2. 2s and 1o is translated into 13c2 multiplied by 39c1. And 3s and 0o's is translated into 13c3 multiplied by 39c0. And everywhere or is translated to plus and is translated to multiply. Now what does it mean? It means we have the random variable x is taken as a random variable. It can have values like 0, 1, 2, and 3. And the count or the frequencies of 0, 1, 2, and 3 is equal to the product of these combinations. So if we do the product of these combinations, we get like 13c0 into 39c3 is equals to 9139. So this means that there are 9139 zeros present in x. Then how many ones are there, which is equals to 13c1 into 39c2, that is 9633. So after 91390 zeros, we have 9633 ones, right? And this would be obvious when we will be looking into the frequency distribution table. Similarly, how many twos we have got is a product of this, and how many threes we have got is a product of this. Let's quickly move on to the table so that we can better understand this, the formulation of x over here. The values of x are 0, 1, 2, 3. Understandable. The frequencies are the result of these combinations. So this can be seen in this column, right? And the total frequency would be sum of these frequencies, and it should be equals to what? It should be equals to 52c3, because in all we are selecting three cards or picking or drawing three cards from 52 cards. So this sum should be equals to 52c3. Now the relative frequencies are the ratios of the frequencies or the individual frequencies of the group divided by total frequencies, and the sum of them would be equals to 1 by the rule of the probabilities as we discussed earlier. Cumulative frequency. Now this is important. There are total 9139 zeros, so cumulation would be this because there is no other group before it or preceding it. Now for the case of 1, there are total 9633 ones over here, and when this 96331 is added to 9139, we get 18772, and that's how we obtained 18772 over here. That is from 9140 till 18772, they are all ones. Then how many twos? There were 3042 twos. But in the data set, how would we obtain it? When we sum this 3042 to the preceding cumulative frequency value, which was 18772, we get basically it should be 20,000, right? So there's some error. Let me correct this error. 3042 and then plus 18772, and we get the answer, which is 2184. 21814, sorry. So let me just correct this thing. There was a typo. Definitely this should not be that much a small number, and rather this one is the correct answer. So 21,814. So this means 21,814 would be twos. Let me correct this thing over here as well. And please note this thing, the importance of this cumulative frequency column when we are making or formulating the x. So formulation of x. Lastly, the total frequency for 3 was 286, and 286 when added to 21814, we get 22,100 or 22100. So till 22100 we have all the threes as shown in the formulation of x as well. Last is the column of group boundary, a very common column and a very same column as it was in the previous examples. The jamming factor is again 1 minus 0.2, which is 0.5. When the 0.5 is subtracted and added to every other value in the group, we get this group boundary column, right? So this completes the frequency distribution summarization, and we have done 5 examples of it over here. The analysis would follow the same pattern, the same interpretations as we did for the first example. If you have any confusions, any queries, any problems, I would ask you to write down in the comments, and soon when I read them, I will try to get back to you to solve your queries. So thank you very much.